Hello there, you fine looking person. This is Chris from TechSpert, and I'm here with Google's latest Pixel 4 smartphone. We're going to do a full side by side with Apple's iPhone 11, two of the biggest and certainly most premium smartphones of 2019, but which is best for you? Of course, whichever one you want, you better hope that your wallet is fat with stacks, as I believe the kids say it these days. The Pixel 4 starts at £669 here in the UK, iPhone 11 a bit more expensive at 729 quid. Let's start with the design. As you can see there, the iPhone 11 is a bit more of a handful than the Pixel 4. It's got 6.1 inch display compared with a 5.7 inch Pixel 4. Of course, those bezels surrounding the display are fairly chunky on both of these handsets, certainly compared with a lot of rivals. Here on the Pixel 4, you got this big fat chunk right up here above the display. And of course, on the iPhone 11, you've got a big fat mustache notch jutting its way into the display. I personally prefer the look and the feel of the Pixel compared with the iPhone. It's definitely that little bit more compact, so a little bit more easy to manage. If we actually flip the phones around, both the Pixel 4 and the iPhone 11 are both constructed from glass around the back as well as the front. Nice bit of aluminium banding in the middle, just sandwiched between those two glass panes. It's actually a very similar finish on both of these devices. As you can see, pretty straightforward design, very little in the way of frills. You've got a little bit of branding, of course, Google, Apple, and that's pretty much it as far as the frills and stuff are concerned. Of course, both of these smartphones do sport the old square camera chassis as well, which is much maligned. They are very much a love it or hate it affair, and most people seem to hate it, to be perfectly honest, from the feedback that I've seen on YouTube and on various forums and the like as well. Certainly on the iPhone, it seems to be rather toy-like with those ridiculously oversized lenses. I'm not really a fan, to be perfectly frank. iPhone 11's got a bit more heft to it at 194 grams compared with 162 grams here on the Pixel 4. Not very durable either, the iPhone. It's already started to pick up scratches just like the iPhone XS and XR before it, although it is at least IP68 dust and water resistant, just like the Pixel 4. Haven't had the Pixel 4 long enough to see if that Gorilla Glass 5 backing will be completely resistant to scratches and scuffs and all the rest, but hopefully, touch wood. Let's take a squint at the software, and of course it's the latest version of Android 10 here on the Pixel 4, and you get the latest iOS version 13 here on the iPhone 11. And a lot of the new features that these OS updates add are actually pretty similar. So for instance, you get a dark mode on both of these devices, which just helps to limit the battery drain, and also just looks really nice, comfortable, easy on the eye experience for low light. As here on the Pixel smartphone, Google's actually done away with that rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, so now it relies entirely on face unlock, like so. Here on the Pixel 4, you've actually got radar technology, so the phone can detect when you're reaching for it and then activate the face unlock, and as you can see, you're basically straight into your desktops by the time you've picked it up. It's not quite as smart here on the iPhone, but it does have the raise to wake at least, so again, it'll access that face unlock feature once it detects the phone's been picked up, and then as you can see there, we are unlocked, but you now have to swipe, unfortunately, in order to actually access your desktops, whereas you can just be straight in there with the Android. And of course, you've got a virtual assistant with both these devices as well, the Google Assistant or Siri. You can activate them using your voice, OK Google or Hey Siri. And you've also got the edge sensor here on the Pixel 4 as well for fast activation. They both support contactless payments, they both support eSIM as well as nano SIM. There are all kinds of similarities and some little differences between them as well. The major difference is, of course, Android is highly customizable. You can slap on your own launcher and really tweak the way that the OS looks and feels, whereas obviously iOS, you're a bit more stuck with what you've got. You don't have an apps tray to help clear the clutter or anything like that, but it all comes down to personal preferences basically. However, it is worth mentioning that the iPhone 11 is the only phone here that supports Wi-Fi 6. The Pixel, for some reason, still stuck on Wi-Fi 5, doesn't have that Wi-Fi 6 support. Neither of these handsets will support 5G either. Let's talk about the media chops. The Pixel 4 has the slightly smaller 5.7 inch screen compared with a 6.1 inch iPhone 11, but it is an OLED panel as opposed to an IPS. That means you get the always on display feature, and it also means nice dark blacks, really true blacks, and some nice punchy colors as well. The iPhone 11 tends to err more on the sort of natural side, but they both support HDR content, so you can get stuck into that on a bit of Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever. As you can see, they're both very bright displays, so certainly easy to see on a nice clear day. You do seem to get slightly richer tones here on the Pixel compared with the iPhone, and those contrast levels just look a little bit nicer. And that's possibly also down to the difference in resolution as well. It's a simple 326 pixels per inch here on the iPhone 11. On the Pixel 4, a bit sharper at 444 pixels per inch. That said, though the Pixel would be my pick of these two devices, the iPhone 11 doesn't disappoint. It's still very nice, crisp, clean, good looking visuals, and yeah, certainly do the job for your bit of El Camino. And just so I can show you something a little bit more colourful and vibrant compared with obviously the El Caminos, here's a bit of Canon blasters as well on Netflix. As you see again, those hues just look really nice here on the Pixel. They just really shine. Those colours, those purples, those blues, those yellows really pop. And of course, if you do decide to go full screen in Netflix, whatever, you do have that little bit of notch action intruding on the display here on the iPhone. You don't get that on the Pixel. And on the audio front, there's really not much between these two phones at all. They both boast a stereo speaker setup, so they blast the media out of the earpiece, and a downwards firing speaker down below as well. Both nice and powerful. Let's just do one and then the other. So let's start with the Pixel. These are on top volume. Expert, and I'm here with the OnePlus 7T Pro, ready to get it all unboxed, set up for your view. Good bit of grunt there. And now the iPhone 11. Expert, and I'm here with the OnePlus 7T Pro, ready to get it all unboxed, set up for your viewing delight. Sounds perhaps a little bit more full-bodied on the Pixel. Again, I'm trying not to be biased here because I really do prefer the Pixel to the iPhone in many ways. But, you know, again, the iPhone 11 will absolutely do you 100% on the speaker front. You know, that'll cut through any kind of noisy environment. Unfortunately, neither smartphone has a headphone jack, so you'll have to use an annoying dongle if you want to connect a wide pair, but they've both got Bluetooth 5 support, aptX, and all of that. And on the performance front, both of these phones absolutely kill it as well. You got the Snapdragon 855 with 6 gigs of RAM here on the Pixel 4. You got Apple's own A13 chipset backed by 4 gigs RAM on the iPhone 11. They'll blast through the latest games like PUBG Mobile, top detail levels, high frame rate, no issues whatsoever. I would do an Antutu benchmark test, so unfortunately I can't install it here on the Pixel as it hasn't actually been released yet, so that is all blocked. But to be honest, obviously it's a different version of Antutu on both these handsets because it's a different OS anyway, so it doesn't really tell you that much, does it? Heck. As for the battery life, well, it's a 2,800 milliamp here on the Pixel 4, 3,100 on the iPhone 11. The iPhone 11 doesn't exactly impress for battery life. It'll just about last the day with fairly intensive use, but it's definitely better than the Pixel 4. So far, the Pixel 4 will struggle to reach bed, especially if you're doing a lot of media streaming, so it's been rather disappointing on that battery life front. They both charge up reasonably swiftly with the 18-watt fast charging on there as well, and you got Qi wireless support as well if you don't fancy sticking a cable in. As far as the storage goes, the Pixel 4 you've got a choice of 64 or 128 gigs. Here on the iPhone 11 you've also got a choice of 256 gigs if you want a bit more. Neither phone supports micro SD memory card expansion, unfortunately, and if you do want to go for those higher storage models, it will cost you a little bit extra coin. Well, the good news, at least here on the Pixel, is that Google will give you free unlimited Google Photos storage, so you can stick all your photos and vids on there absolutely scot-free. Let's return to that decidedly square camera tech and actually have a run through the specs this time. So it's a 12.2 megapixel primary lens here on the Pixel 4, f1.7 with optical image stabilization. On the iPhone 11 it's 12 megapixel f1.8. It's very similar, and again you've got that optical image stabilization. But you also get a second lens in both cases too. You get a 16 megapixel f2.4 with optical image stabilization, offering a 2x optical zoom here on the Pixel 4, and on the iPhone 11 it's a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, again f2.4. Now, the good thing about the Pixel 4 and the iPhone 11 smartphone cameras is the fact that it's very much a case of point and shoot. It's so simple to use. You get great looking results with minimal effort, basically. On the flip side, that also means you don't get pro manual controls on either of these devices. Because both of these bad boys have a portrait mode. You can flip to that at any point, so that'll just help to keep your subject nice and crisp while blurring out the background. Here on the iPhone, you do actually get a selection of studio style filters as well to turn them monochrome or do sort of funky jazzy things to the colors. And you've got a dedicated night sight mode here on the Pixel as well, which is apparently even good enough to shoot constellations up in the night sky if that's your bag. Here on the iPhone, it just kind of automatically activates the night mode when the iPhone reckons you'll need it, and you get sort of similar balanced results on both these devices. Though I've got to say I prefer the Pixels again. It doesn't oversaturate some of those light elements like the iPhone does have a tendency to do, so I think it's just that little bit smarter. And switch to the video mode, and you can actually shoot up to 4K resolution video with either of these devices, but only the iPhone 11 will allow you to do it at 60 frames per second as well. Here on the Pixel, unfortunately, you're locked in at 30 frames per second at that 4K level. But again, you can shoot great looking video with either of these devices. Image stabilization is definitely on point. It's some great stuff. And yes, you've got the likes of slow motion and time lapse and stuff like that if you want it. If we flip around to those front facing cameras as well, it's an 8 megapixel shooter here on the Pixel 4, and on the iPhone 11 it's a 12 megapixel shooter shooter. So you can capture nice, good looking photos. As you can see, it's a very pulled out view here on the Pixel. You can almost get that kind of view just with a quick pinch of your fingers here on the iPhone as well. And if we swap to the video mode as well, you can see there that unfortunately the Pixel 4 does top off at full HD when it comes to the front facing video, whereas here on the iPhone you can actually shoot it up to 4K resolution again, so good if you want to do a nice sharp looking vlog. So which one, pray, are you more tempted by, the Pixel or the iPhone? Definitely be great to hear your thoughts down below. I get the feeling that a lot of you, before you watch this, you would have already had your mind made up on which one you would prefer, because generally it comes down to either Android or iOS. But certainly in terms of the hardware, I'm definitely leaning more towards the Pixel 4. Just that gorgeous OLED display, the more compact form factor as well, and I really like the look of some of those camera features too. So stay tuned for my in-depth review and camera review and everything else. In fact, that should all be going live as this video goes live. Hooray! And don't forget to poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech. Cheers everyone, love you!